Welcome to this week's edition of TBD with Coach Kraushaar, where our topic is always to be determined. Presented by Chamberlain Heating and Air Conditioning here in Muscatine, your leader for HVAC work and outdoor living. You can get all of your outdoor cooking and outdoor living gear from Chamberlain, whether it's a Green Mountain pellet grill to a Weber smoke fire grill to a custom outdoor kitchen. Chamberlain Heating and Air in Muscatine, Iowa is your leader for that. We always focus on high school activities and community athletics and activities, whether it's arts or some sports. We're getting ready to get into the fall sports season, and it's been a crazy year with COVID-19 and all that's gone on here nationwide and locally. And I've been getting lots of questions from people out about the community here in Muscatine about the sports medicine side of COVID-19, and there is a misconception that I know anything about that. I was born into a sports medicine family, but I am not a sports medicine professional. So I thought that a good chance to bring in two sports medicine professionals from Rock Valley Physical Therapy as our guests tonight. Nicole Calvert, who is the head athletic trainer for Muscatine High School, and Stephanie Aguero Miller, who is the clinic manager for Rock Valley Physical Therapy here in Muscatine. Ladies, welcome.
Thanks, Joel.
Thanks for having me.
So, Nicole, I guess we'll start with you. So you are in the front lines, so to speak, when it comes to sports medicine and care and prevention of injuries and care for athletes at Muscatine High School. So this year is looking a little bit different because it's not just the fall practice, not just getting ready for all the fall sports, but there is the whole new adjustments to protocols for COVID-19. And you got some baptism in that regard with the summer sports, but fall sports there are more athletes participating, so it's a little bit different. How has that adjustment been from summer, and what's it looking like for the fall?
Yeah, it's definitely a different beast this year. For baseball and softball, we only played varsity. So I know like baseball had 25, 27 kids, and softball had under 20. So now we're jumping into the fall where we have boys and girls cross country, girls swim, boys golf, volleyball, and football. So we're looking at, like right now, if I just look, we've sent out 193 COVID screens today that had to be completed. So, we went from having about 50 or 60 kids to darn near 200. So it's been an adjustment. We've also had to make adjustments, in my athletic training room, and then also what practices look like. And so it's it looks very much different. And I can tell you that Friday night specifically for the community that goes will look very different.
So Stephanie, I'll reach out to you. Now, this isn't just how we're setting up everything on the actual athletic facilities, but it's changed how you guys are able to treat athletes in the clinic as well.
Well, we take everybody's temperature when they enter the clinic, and there's only been a couple instances in which we've had to send people away for that particularly. We do ask anyone that has any symptoms or have been in contact with people with symptoms that they stay home, but let us know so that we have to follow some protocols as well. It's not easy when an athlete's in the clinic because they take up a lot of space sometimes, moving and doing some activities and things like that, plus wearing a mask. That's hard sometimes. It is nice though that we have some things that we can be doing outside, so if that's the case, then we'll let the athlete take their mask off and do that. We actually honestly haven't seen a ton of athletes like we normally would because there hasn't been practices and stuff. We did see some. I was expecting to see more in the summer with baseball and softball, with those that had been like in a hiatus for so long and coming back, but that didn't happen, which that thankful for that. But we haven't seen some of those bumps and bruises that we normally see through the summer with training and things like that. So I mean, that's good in a sense as well, but just not knowing what the fall looks like. We do try to distance not just our athletes, but all of our patients within the clinic as well. We have some private rooms, so we kind of go that route as well. And then we are offering telehealth if that's an option and if it's appropriate for certain clientele of patients as well.
And Nicole, I know that a lot of the athletic training and the treatment happens, like you said, in your office, which is in the new Van Heck Center at the high school. I know that one thing that's happened in the last several years was concussion protocols and concussion baseline testing, which was done for every sport. I think a lot of folks think of concussions with football, but it's a big part of every athletic event that you guys are working with. On top of doing these concussion baselines, now is there some COVID baseline information? You mentioned the screenings. I know that they're using a new application and some new technology to help stay on top of COVID as well.
Yep. So historically, I have seen all of our athletes in the old athletic training room inside. I am now going to transition to doing everything in the Van Heck Center. That allows kids to space out outside. It allows me to tape outside on when the weather's favorable. Kids can wait out there. They can do their rehab outside, because in really either athletic training room, I can only have up to 4 kids. So that it complicates things a little bit, but being able to have that facility will be very nice going into this year. So as far as concussion baseline tests go, we have baseline tested. Typically, we'll do every athlete every year. This year, as long as they took a baseline last year, that will be good. And so we're just going to baseline test freshmen and kids that would be new to sports. And we do that for football, volleyball, boys and girls basketball, wrestling, and soccer, boys and girls soccer. And so we'll continue to do that. If a kid takes a test for football, it'll be good for wrestling or soccer. So that should cut down on our contacts with kids as well. In my room in particular, you're required to wear a mask. And really anytime that you need something from me, it's kind of recommended that you wear one, but particularly when you're inside, it's a requirement. Obviously, a kid goes down on the football field at practice, things get a little bit different, but we as athletic trainers, and then if we have assistants and stuff, that they wear them all the time. Washing your hands before you come in, wiping things down. We're not going to be able to do ice baths this year or run hot packs. And then every kid before practice is expected to fill out a COVID screen through Varsity Bound. And so that's the same program that now Quick Stats, people that are familiar with Quick Stats, it's now Varsity Bound. And so once they're signed up, we're doing things kind of through their school email, they will get an email every day, weekday. If they have a weekend practice, then their coach would send an email out. And before practice, they click on that link, and then they answer questions. Do you have a cough, sore throat, vomiting, chills, muscle pain, headache, taste or smell loss, shortness of breath, close contact with anyone that would be a positive, or, in the limbo period between if they know if they're positive or not. Do you have a fever? And then they have to record their temperature. So it's not just, no, I feel fine. We're asking for some specific answers to questions that you can't just, oh, yeah, I think today I'm, 98.1. It's make sure that you take your temperature, log it, and that's done every day, and that'll allow us to kind of see where kids are at. And then I don't know if you can see, but it'll show me green or red, okay? And then if I go through and, oh, Stephanie failed, or it'll say failed, and it'll be red, and then I'll look and say, okay, well, why did Stephanie fail the test or fail her screening? And then always a follow-up, no matter how many yeses she clicked or whatever. If they come up red, it's always a follow-up. So it might be, a couple kids have checked yes, well, they're in concussion protocol, so I would expect them to have a headache. That kind of explains that. But for kids that have, 2 or more symptoms, like where we're really honing in on, well, what's going on and why are you having, what are these symptoms? If they don't fill it out, and it would just show white, as in they received the email but they didn't fill it out, for football specifically, like, we're just going to send them home. It's kind of the expectation, and that's what the coaches have agreed upon to do, is if you can't fill it out, then we can't have you practice, because we're not going to risk the the health of 50 kids for somebody that failed to take their temperature and give us a good answer as to what's going on with them today.
Yeah, I think it's really one positive, I guess, that I've seen just as a parent and as an employee, and is this whole since March we've all kind of uh, become used to being personally held accountable for our own health and being honest about it, and you're not getting punished for it. Like you said, this is just a way for information tracking, and I think that's really interesting how they're doing that as Griffey makes an appearance there on Stephanie's picture. My dog tried to photobomb us a couple weeks ago too. So Stephanie, that actually is going to segue a little bit into what I was going to ask you. So we've got not just COVID-19, and you mentioned it a little bit when you were talking about baseball and softball, but as a doctor of physical therapy, one of the things that we're going to see is we haven't had a whole summer of plyometrics, speed and agility training. We haven't had a whole summer of some of the workouts these fall athletes have done. What are some risks, maybe if you're a parent, that you can start to be like seeing and try to help mitigate as practices getting underway here going into the fall season?
Well, we've definitely seen deconditioning for a lot of general population and across the board, just athletes and people who haven't been as active because they've been home or not in their other sports or not training or whatever. We've seen some aches and pains and things that are uncommon that we wouldn't normally see, just some generic low back pain or some stiffness or tightness. And that goes into, if you are experiencing decreased activity where you're used to being active in an off season where you're training or doing off season training, you're constantly doing something. But if you are less active, potentially underactive, I guess, potential for injury when you resume activities at a high level, and or your body's just not really in shape to take on that strain of the in-season activities. And we always encourage athletes to be playing multiple sports anyway, but there is you do have some downtime, but you're still active during that downtime. And so we've seen some athletes and like general population as well, who have just been very inactive for the last 4 or 5 months, that are just now reporting some just mild aches and pains. But as an athlete, that can turn into something bigger if you're not really like ramping up into season.
Nicole, are there some things that uh, is it as simple as just getting a good night's rest and hydrating to help mitigate some of that stuff, or are there maybe some more stretches that parents can make sure their kids are doing before we get into the craziest part of the season?
Yeah, and at the high school level, we were able to get in the weight rooms July 10th, I think. And so kids that played fall sports were able to get about 3 weeks of whether it's football specific or whatever. So that in terms of the kids that I'm seeing and, summer running and that stuff was able to pick up. So in terms of just high school, that was clutch that we were able to get in and do some preseason stuff. For some of the schools that didn't even open, and we just did body weight stuff. I mean, we didn't really put too much weight on the bar or go back to things we were doing pre-March. It was pretty much you come in and wherever you start is a great baseline for you, and let's just build from there. It'll be really interesting to see what happens for schools whose districts maybe didn't let them in the weight rooms at all until end of July, early August. Football was up in the air. Maybe you weren't allowed to do anything. I think those schools will really struggle with injuries, kind of the overuse, 0 to 100 type of injuries. It'll be interesting to see just in a football season those schools that weren't able to do anything, kind of what they look like. But in terms of the general public, it's definitely like it's time to get up and get moving, and whether it's going for a walk or a run. Flexibility is huge, at least in our program. So whether you decide to like yoga or it's just some simple stretching, when you wake up in the morning, before, after you go for a run, anything like that, anything's going to be better than nothing. So whatever you decide to do, it'll take 3 or 4 weeks for you to actually see some benefits, especially for those people that have been, kind of in quarantine since March and stuff. And so even with football too, it's there was a good 3-week period where kids were sore, and we didn't even bring baseball and softball in. Typically they will lift during the summer, but because we couldn't get into weight rooms until July, that was almost playoffs for both those teams. And so we just said, you guys keep doing what you're doing at practice, and then we'll see you when we can see you. So anything is better than nothing, and just getting up and moving, and whether it's playing catch or something in the front yard with your kids is always beneficial. So
Are we seeing some athletes choose to wear a mask while they're participating? Is that something we're seeing?
Yep. And so, obviously anytime kids are kind of milling around before practice, the majority of them have them on. Some kids choose to wear them during practice. There's definitely social distance, when we do team breaks and talk and stuff. Kids are pretty aware of, hey, I need to be, arm's length apart from people next to me. Same thing at cross country and swim. They're definitely spread out. And, historically, Judd in the pool would have everybody start, by the blocks on one end of the pool. Now kids are starting, halfway, 3/4 the way, and then at the other end. And so that they're running practice that way to try to stay socially distanced as well. For football, we have ordered, and Mr. Olsis, the athletic director at the high school, has ordered everybody gaiters for all fall athletes, so that kids at least have something to use. And then we ordered those I think, face shields that are built into the face mask. So one will go above the eyes, and then one will fill in that lower face mask. Those have not arrived.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
They have not arrived yet, but I haven't seen them. I don't know how they go on or anything, but I think we've ordered them. And when they come in, we'll give them a shot. And you are able to wear those through the game. So once they go on, I think they can stay on till the end of the season. So.
Yeah, I think that I was looking at the rule book. I think as long as it's not reflective and it's completely transparent, it's legal by the state of Iowa for football helmets. Yeah, it's a crazy time. I'm going to be honest. I'm really glad I'm not coaching right now. I mean, it's extra stress on top of what everyone's doing, and we're all seeing it. You guys are seeing it in your jobs, as essential workers right there on the front lines with people and being exposed to all sorts of different things on top of what you usually have to deal with in your line of work. So we're definitely appreciative as a community. Again, we're just talking with Stephanie Aguero Miller and Nicole Calvert from Rock Valley Physical Therapy. And I think that COVID is just another thing that we're all having to talk about with fall sports, and Iowa is giving it a try, and we're seeing students from across the river find homes on rosters and in school districts here in Iowa too. So our sports are booming right now in the state of Iowa. And you guys have worked together for a long time, but I said that we try to have a little bit of fun here towards the end of the interview. Did you guys cross paths long before you ended up in Muscatine together on the softball diamond potentially? Back, I think both of these photos are from 2011 here. Did you and I ever play North Dakota State, Stephanie?
Nope, not that I remember.
Okay,
no, I don't think so.
Because they're in the same conference in other sports. I couldn't find any schedules, but this is Nicole is a graduate assistant athletic trainer at North Dakota State University, and then Stephanie, you had a tremendous career at Northern Iowa playing softball. But I wasn't sure if you guys crossed paths before.
Nope, I don't.
Too much time.
Unless we were at same tournaments, but we never played each other.
But it's both of those schools are outstanding on almost every sport, and it's been crazy to see how colleges have altered their schedules. And I know that you probably all have relationships with people in athletic departments, and any of us who are sports fans, it's just kind of a wait and see. Everything's a day by day, and you guys are definitely a good part of putting the protocols in place for our community to make sure the kids are safe and able to participate as much as they can. Is there anything else you'd like to make sure the community understands about how Rock Valley's role and keeping the kids safe is going forward?
I just, one thing that we always talk about and we've talked about in the weight room is, control what you can control. So be smart, take care of yourselves, be aware of what you're doing and what's going on that could affect not only you, but the, 40 or 50 or 60 guys or girls around you. And you never know what's going to be your last game or, what's going to be your last practice. So the state may come out and say, well, we've had too many positive cases, so tomorrow there's not going to be a sport. So you need to go into every day of practice invested and getting better, because it truly could be, unfortunately the way it is this season, especially, like, it could be your last one. So, that's kind of been make sure you're getting better every day and give everything you have, because you never know when they might take it from you. And I think our coaches are doing a great job of sanitizing and wearing the masks and, kind of across the board to make sure that those kids get a season. And for the kids that played a spring sport and felt the heartbreak of not being able to play and have a season taken away, it stinks. And so I think the coaches are doing a very, very good job of doing everything that they can to go above and beyond to make sure that these fall sport kids actually get a chance to play. And so it makes my job easier, I guess, as an athletic trainer, that they're on board and they're helping out and they're trying to do everything that they can to make sure that we get a fair shot.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking some time tonight. I know that it's a busy time of year for you guys, and to take a few minutes to share that with us is important to me, and I appreciate it. Again, Rock Valley Physical Therapy, great partners here in the community, providing the athletic training services for Muscatine High School and the surrounding schools. The athletic trainers are, this is a crazy time of year. I know growing up on the sidelines, going to games with my dad, watching him run around taping ankles and keeping guys on the field was I didn't appreciate it, I think, until I got older. And it's never a dull moment. You're running from gym to field and all over the place. And I know you have lots of other athletic trainers on staff who provide a lot of help for your operations for the other schools in our surrounding area as well. So thanks for all the work you guys do, and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Joel.
So that's this week's edition of TBD with Coach Kraushaar, and again, Rock Valley Physical Therapy and athletic training staff, Nicole Calvert, and then Stephanie Aguero Miller, the clinic manager for the Muscatine Clinic for Rock Valley. Big thank you to them. And remember, Chamberlain Heating and Air Conditioning, your local leader for HVAC and outdoor living. Go ahead and check them out at Chamberlain, CHAMBERLIN, HVAC.net. Thanks for watching tonight, and always check out Muskie Sports on Discover Muscatine. Thank you.